Hey, how you doing? It's been a little while. We'll get straight into it. Basically, I got an OLED TV and I've been loving it and sort of deep diving into that. And it's sort of stopped me playing VR for a little bit. Quickly, OLEDs, if you have one, you get it. Like HDR finally makes the sense to me. I see what it does because it's contrasted against those perfect blacks and you're getting that highlights are actually like real light. Now it's amazing. You're sort of intoxicated by it when you see those highlights. Standard dynamic range now just feels like it's capped, like the light is colored, whereas HDR I walk outside and I'm like, oh, the world looks like HDR. It's quite amazing. It's finally the TV sort of looks like what it's like when I go outside. That's pretty cool and exciting to me. Second thing, golf. Have you jumped into Mount Olympus? It's insane. I was just playing it then. But I just wanted to bring something up about it. When I first put it on, I felt like on the PlayStation VR 2, it was sharper than before. And I also saw some dropped frames with that when I was flying above. It was definitely dropping frames. When I was walking around the course, it wasn't. But it was sharp. It was like super sampled or something, or they'd done something. Anyway, when I jumped back in, it's not dropping frames anymore, but it's a little softer. And I'm wondering, have you guys seen that or felt that? I'm a little disappointed. I was disappointed when I was dropping frames, but now I'm disappointed that it's softer. It'd be cool if we had the option to jump between sort of graphic fidelity modes. Because when I was playing it and I was on the course, it was not dropping frames, and that's generally what you're doing. The other thing with golf, it's called walkabout golf, right? Why isn't there a feature where we can walk on the course using both controllers just like we walk around any other VR game where one controller steers you and the other one makes you go forward or back, as opposed to just having this one controller that is weird and you can't really walk around the course like you can walk around in other VR games. It'd be great if they had this switch where it's called walkabout mode and you can have it seated or standing, because I like to sit down when I'm playing walkabout golf, and maybe you can sit but it still puts you at standing height in the game, which I feel like is really important, so you don't feel like you're crouching in the game. And then you can walk around with both controllers like you would in any other VR game and just explore the course, because half the time I go in there and I don't even play golf, I just like to explore the course. So anyway, that's my thoughts on golf. Now I want to talk about the Meganex and the big screen Beyond 2. We've just seen it released. It looks awesome. We are getting so close to the ultimate headset, right? And I want to discuss how close are we? What are the compromises that they've had to make on these two models? And when are we going to get this headset that everyone just goes, bam, that's it? And how much would you pay for a headset that does what you want? So let's look at the big screen Beyond. It's still 2500 by 2500, but that's pretty good. If you compare it to the PlayStation VR 2, which is 2000 by 2000, 2500 by 2500 doesn't sound like a big jump. You might think it's 25%, right? 500 extra pixels, but it's actually not. It's 60% more pixels. That's a lot. That's a difference between 4 million pixels and 6.5 million pixels in that same space. That's a lot more density. That, without the mirror, people are saying it looks amazing. The biggest drawback for me on the big screen 2 is they've sacrificed binocular overlap. And that's my one problem with the Quest 3, is when I put it on, the world doesn't have that 3D depth that a good binocular overlap gives me. Like on my PlayStation VR 2, when I put that on, I'm like, whoa, I'm getting this amazing 3D effect. And that is such a big part of VR for me. And if the big screen doesn't have that, I don't know if I'm going to buy it. I know everyone's got different opinions on this. You let me know what you think, but I think I prefer that over field of view. Field of view is immersive, but I don't care if I'm being immersed into a world that doesn't feel deep. I'd rather a small field of view and a deep, sort of mysterious world that looks real and just imagine that I'm wearing goggles or a ski mask or something like that, you know? But I can't think of any world where there's no depth. You know, I can think of times in real life where my field of view is shut off, but I can't think of times in real life where the depth is not real, right? So I can suspend my imagination for field of view, but I can't for depth. So I'd rather depth, and then let's work on field of view after that. My 2 cents. With the PlayStation VR 2, I love the light, I love the black levels, but the mirror almost destroys the OLED blacks. And the eye tracking to me is pointless because the sweet spot is so small that if I'm moving my eyes to look around, I'm getting stuffed by the lenses before I need eye tracking. So I don't know how the eye tracking is doing anything there. I can see eye tracking working when we've got a nice sort of sweet spot where we actually want to use our eyes to look around. And I've sort of done experiments with this, figuring out how big a sweet spot do we actually need? Like when I'm walking around, like how much do I use my eyes as opposed to turning my head? And it's really only that much. It's not that much. Any more than that, and I'm like, that's too much for my eyes. I want to just move my head. It's easier. So I hope VR, these people working on these headsets are thinking about this and going, we only really need a sweet spot of about here, and that would be nice to have eye tracking there, but maybe we don't even need eye tracking. The rest of it we can sort of just, you know, lower the res and just have super high res where we need it and where our eyes are going to go, and we just get used to turning our head maybe a smidge more earlier than we would in real life. Maybe that's a way to get extra performance out of the headset. Now for the big screen, we don't have inside-out tracking. For some people that's not going to be a problem, they've got a base station. But for me, if I want to invest in a whole PC and everything, having a base station, I don't know, is it a hassle trying to set it up in the area? When it first came out and I saw where the screw pieces were, I'm like, oh, they finally got inside-out tracking. But no, that's just where the screw holes go. Bit disappointed. I get why, it's a weight thing. But is it worth it? How much extra weight does it add? I'd like to know these things. I'd like to know the trade-offs. Same with the Megan X. Now the Megan X has this beautiful 4K per eye display, right? So, you know, the pixel feel, the density of the pixels is going to be that next level. And I want to talk about that. I feel like when I put on the Apple Vision Pro that I was looking at what you might compare to an HD television. If you're sitting a good distance away from an HD TV, you can't see pixels, right? But it doesn't have that feeling like those objects on the screen are real, like you can touch them. Since I got this OLED 4K TV, when I look at objects on the screen, they have this sort of density to them where I feel like I can reach out and touch them. And it's amazing. And I still think we're a bit away from that in headsets. I think we're going to need probably 8K per eye to get that feeling of like, that's real life. That's the ultimate. That's where we're going. I think 4K per eye though is going to be, for a long time, for the next 5 to 10 years, the standard. Just like HD was for TVs. So yes, we need to get to that 4K per eye. However, I still think the big screen beyond, without mirror and with good lenses, is going to cut the mustard. 2500 by 2500, that is as low as we can go. Hopefully the Quest 4 raises the res up to this, and hopefully it uses an OLED. We as humans are all about contrast. I'm pretty sure we started seeing in just shades, and over time we've developed color, but it's all really just amounts of light. It's all about contrast. OLED gives you that. I'm 100% down for micro OLED. If the Quest 4 had a micro OLED and it was 2500 by 2500 and it was a halo mounted head mount, then that's going to be sick. I feel like we're beyond having the HMD on our face. It doesn't feel good. I'm a huge proponent of the halo strap and letting it fall on your face and just having a nice latex shield. or it resting on the nose. No one has come out with something resting on the nose yet. Maybe they're still too heavy. I can't imagine a big screen beyond being too heavy to be rested on the nose. But until we get to that resting on the nose, the halo strap all the way. So the big glaring factors that the Mega Next and the big screen don't have is wireless, inside out tracking, and God, maybe that's it. Maybe they're the two big things. Are we going to get there? Well, for good wireless, I think we need Wi-Fi 7. We need a high enough bit rate. Anyone who knows what uncompressed signal coming into the HMD looks like knows how important it is for a clear image. So we need at least Wi-Fi 7 to get that, and maybe better streaming codecs, software-wise. That's one. Two, inside-out tracking. I think we can do that too. I think if we have a HMD that has a halo strap with the battery maybe here or in the back, and some weight distribution there, we can get away with this. We can have a super light thing on our face and have Wi-Fi 7 inside out tracking and have an incredible wireless headset with anything between 2500 by 2500 to 4000 by 4000 pixels, micro OLED. That's the dream. That is the dream. When are we going to get that? Maybe next year, maybe the year after. Do we have the hardware that can run it? This is the next big thing. I think the next jump for our performance is going to be AI. It's going to be frame generation. It's not good enough at the moment, but we're running out of computing power. Moore's law is dead. People are saying we're running out. We need a new frontier, and I think AI frame generation is going to be that, and it's hugely scalable. That's the amazing thing. We've scaled with transistors. You know, we're down to 3 nanometers or whatever it is. We almost can't make them smaller, but we're at the forefront of AI and frame gen, DLSS. All these tools that are coming out now, they're not perfect. We're seeing artifacts. They're not. We're going to see artifacts. If we're seeing artifacts on the TV screen, you're going to see them on your face. But this is just the birth. I believe in 3 to 5 years, we're going to be able to generate up to 240, 500 frames a second. How much do we need for VR? I think we need 120. We could get away with 90. Let's go 90. So what's the headset that we need? We want inside out tracking. We want it light and comfortable. We want micro OLED, maybe let's say 4K each eye. We want great lenses with good sweet spot. Eye tracking, yeah, but maybe we don't need eye tracking if we have AI frame gen and up-resing that is good enough. Then we're laughing. This is going to take time. That's why I think we've got about 5 years before we have a comfortable headset that looks almost real. You can't see pixels. The colors are great. The light is great. It's bright. And we're connecting it to a machine that can generate us 90 frames per second at a good enough resolution and good enough graphics. When that happens, everything's going to change. No one's going to want to play flat screen games again. People laugh when I say this, but if you've had a good VR gaming experience where you're in the world, you know how good VR is. That's why you're watching this channel. That's why you watch VR videos, because you're intoxicated by it. You know how insane it is. Once you get a headset like that running at 90 frames native with high res, and you got the game, maybe it's GT6 finally with this support, or some new game comes along that is multiplayer, that puts you in an incredible world, and you can live in that world and socialize in that world, all bets are off. I'm going to put something out here. I think PlayStation 7, well, you won't need a monitor. Maybe it'll let you use a monitor, like a screen, a TV, but I think most people will buy a PlayStation 7 and not want to hook it up to a TV. They're going to want to hook it up just to their headset. And it will come in a bundle. I think PlayStation 6 will be the last of gaming on flat screen. Like, when's the PlayStation 6 coming out? We're getting it in maybe 3 years. 2-3 years. And then we've got another 6 years after that. That's almost 10 years away. No one is going to be wanting to play flat screen games. That is what I think is going to happen. I think 5 years, it takes off. In 10 years, no one's playing flat screen again. We're going to have to be patient. Here's the other thing. What price are people going to be willing to pay for this? Well, if I had a PlayStation 7 and a VR headset that gave me Retina display at 90 Hertz and it played games like, you know, that we're seeing now, games that are coming out, and you're in that world now, like Horizon, Assassin's Creed Shadows. How much would I pay for that? I would be happy to pay 3,000 Australian dollars for both, 2,000 US. I mean, I think I'd be happy to pay more. I'd probably be happy to pay $4,000, maybe 2,000 for the display and 2,000 for the PlayStation 7. Once you're there, you're there. Once we hit that ultimate experience where there's no VR friction, where we don't have to put up with the comfortability, we don't have to put up with the mirror, we don't have to put up with the field of view issues. The games are great, the graphics is great, there's enough people around to play them with, it's going to skyrocket. And then you're going to be buying VR headsets at your 7-Eleven, and they're going to be, you know, 2000 by 2000 OLEDs. Micro displays are going to go through the roof. We're going to laugh at frame generation thinking, oh, how did we not, you know, use software frame generation, AI frame gen? Like, we're in for a treat. We're in for a treat. Watch this in 5 years' time and watch this in 10 years' time. Hopefully the Quest 4 is going to be that thing that just really gets the general public into VR. If we can get OLED on that and a 25 by 2500 resolution with a good enough chip to play some games that are really cool standalone, but also a display port so we can use it, and it's comfortable, man, they're gonna have a winner. And I think they should put that tech in and raise the price. We don't want hundreds and thousands of people putting on a crap headset. We want someone spending $2,000 on a headset and showing it to their family, and their family going, wow, we spent $2,000 on a laptop, we spent $2,000 on phones. Why wouldn't we spend $2,000 on a headset that can do that times 1,000,000? Do something you've never seen before. I believe we're underpricing VR stuff. I think we need to raise the price, get a headset out there that does what we all want it to do, no compromises, and watch it sell. And people will save for this because the experience they're going to get for it is beyond anything they've ever seen. Anyway, that's my 2 cents. Let me know what you think, and thanks for listening.